Blog Talk Radio.
This is that real. No more nonsense. Open up my mind with these spoken words. Let this music heal like an overture. She's the only one. Yeah. And so I roll with her. Ooh, that's how it's supposed to be. Living life with loved ones close to me. It's just a remedy, and I got the recipe. I don't need no MC. It's been 3 years now. Haven't had a drink and I'm starting to see clear now. I'm putting all my fears down. I can hear the cheers now. Seeing peace signs when I look around. Y'all told me what you tripping on.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Charlotte View. Thanks for coming back and listening. We're the interactive and dynamic radio show that broadcasts live every Friday night, or Friday afternoon,
Yes.
Eastern Standard Time, and I'm Denise Mackey, along with my co-hosts, Claudia Pureco and Jim Black. That song you just heard is called Young Homie, and it's by Chris Renee. He was on X Factor. It's a beautiful song about finding hope and love after tragedy. I actually really like that song.
It is very nice.
If you want to find out your song featured on our show, or how to become a guest, or how to sponsor our show, email us at charlotteview2011@gmail.com. Today we have a really great, cool show coming up for you. We have Veronica Torres. In 1997, Veronica was told by a psychic and a channel that at one point she would also become a channel herself. And as you can imagine, her reaction was initially, yeah, right, not happening. Well, after 5 years of doubting herself and trying to avoid it, she made the choice to follow her call. And in September of 2002, she started what's called now the Wednesday night Eloheim meetings in her hometown, or where she lives now, in Sonoma, California. These are weekly channeling sessions with a group called the Eloheim, and Victoria will explain exactly who they are and what their mission is during our call today. And if you're in the Sonoma area, you can attend these Wednesday night sessions in person, or she just launched a new website called the Eloheim.com where you can find information on how to attend, and I believe you can download podcasts of, if not the Wednesday night sessions, but individual sessions that she's had in the past to check it out a little more. If you want to ask Victoria a question today, Veronica, a question, or the Elohim, you can just give us a call, 805-830-8344, or go online to our website, which is www.blogtalkradio.com/CharlotteView. Once you're there, you can post your questions in our chat room once you register. And I believe Jim Black wanted to ask our first question of the day. Jim, are you there?
I am here. Thank you. Hello to Veronica and Claudia and to all our listeners. My question.
Good morning.
Good morning. I was looking at some of the stuff that about you, Veronica, but I have a question about you. There's something called soul's perspective, and it made me wonder, what is a soul? Does our soul start? Does a soul start when we're born and then goes on and is immortal, or is it some sort of energy or something that's out there and comes into a body once it's born?
Souls are actually a lot older than that. They are, the way I believe and the way I understand it to have happened is this. What you might call God, the universe, the supreme creator, whatever word you like. I don't get hung up on the terminology. The initial force that created all, whatever you like, and not just, Earth, but the whole thing, right, all that is, wanted to know itself. And in order to contemplate itself, to know itself, what it did was split off into souls, and there are lots and lots, of course, of souls, and then sent the souls out to have all experience that can be had in an eternal fashion. And all of that experience that can be had, that souls go about doing, then that is how the allness knows itself. So we are eternal, we're infinite, we're immortal, however, whatever you like to say is we last forever. And in that lasting forever, our role, our job, if you like, is just to have experience, to grow, to develop, to try new things, to see how things are, and to have all experiences that can be had. And one of those experiences that we choose to have is to incarnate in a human body on Earth in a free will zone and experience what that's like, which is what we're doing today.
Veronica, can you explain to us, okay, for those, I've been to psychics before, and I kind of know about the channeling process, but I know I know more about psychics, and so I don't get the difference between a psychic, a medium, a channeler. Can you explain to us?
Okay. The way I define those terms is a psychic is someone who, as just yourself, right, I'll use myself. Just as Veronica, I can be walking down the street and I can get impressions about other people, impressions about things that might going to be happening, impressions about people's illnesses, things like that, right? That happens to me all the time. A medium, how I define a medium, is someone who talks to souls that have crossed out of the human form. So you see that in different departments. I don't do that. But someone who you go to who wants to talk to your aunt that's died or your parents that have died or somebody like that. What I do is called channeling, which allows me to set aside my personality to allow my spirit guides to use my voice and use my body to teach their messages.
You would say
weird. It's weird. You can think it's weird because I think it's weird. Don't we don't have to be like, wow, no, it's weird. It's a weird thing to do. It's a weird job to have. It's like when I was dating, I'd be like, yeah, what do you do? Oh, well, yeah, this is what I do. It's a weird thing to talk about. I don't have any problem with admitting that. But it's also life-changing and incredibly powerful, and people all over the world, are tuned into my community because we do an amazing amount of powerful work together. So you don't have to be normal to get, a good amount of work done. But it is an unusual occupation, I'll tell you that right now.
I think it makes you more real, to be honest, because I think it makes it more real that you're kind of accepting the truth of it. You're like, hey, I'm a human, and I have this, and I think it's kind of weird, too, but you know what? I have it. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to be really down to earth. Eloheim, that's who I work with primarily. They're really, in a funny way, down to earth, considering they don't have a body. It's just really funny that people will say, I don't know why, but I always feel like Eloheim's down to earth. And it's like, yeah, I feel like they're down to earth too. And that's part of the appeal of our work. A lot of channels connect with things that feel much more, dearly beloved kind of energy. And Eloheim's more like, okay, so this is the deal kind of energy. And it can be really, a lot of people really, really dig the fact that it's so real, so earthy feeling, so that kind of stuff. Yeah. We're going to talk to them a little later in the call so people get a sense of what they're about.
So explain to me what when you first had this first experience with them, what was going through your head? What the heck were you thinking?
Well, the thing is that I was really familiar with channeling. I used to go to a channeling group. I'd gotten a lot out of channeling, and I was perfectly happy to sit there and listen, right? That's what I was feeling like was a good thing for me. And when you mentioned in your intro, I went to see this psychic, and he was also a channel, and, I sat down really hoping that he would help me with my marriage problems. And what he says instead is, you're going to become a channel, and, people are going to know you all over the world. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Who wants to do that?
Oh, yeah.
And he was adamant about it, and I said, I don't want to. I just don't want to. It felt so conspicuous and like everybody would, I wasn't interested. So a few years later, I moved to Sonoma, California, where I am now, and I was hanging out with some friends of mine, some new friends I had just met. And after doing a chanting ritual thing that they had invited me to, I was in this really altered state, and we were sitting down in a circle, and in this really altered state, I just started speaking. And at the end of this little 5-minute message that was directed toward a woman I had never met before, and I don't remember if I've ever met her again. I wouldn't know her if she passed me on the street. The voice said, "We are the Elohim, and we are pleased to have been with you today." And I was like, oh, my God, I was just channeling. Oh, my God, I don't want to do that. Oh, my God, I feel so conspicuous. No way, let's not do that. I'm not going to do that. And I burst into tears. And it wasn't because Elohim wasn't friendly, because that's not the case. It wasn't anything to do with them. It had completely to do with me and my own, like, don't look at me. I don't want to be a public figure. I don't want to be conspicuous like that. And it was my own sort of discomfort with what it would ask of me, not at the process at all. So I just said, I'm not going to do it, and I didn't do it for a long time, for years. And then I decided, a friend and I were talking, and she was asking about, different spiritual things and doing different kind of readings, and I said, well, there's always been this channeling thing kind of in the back of my mind, so we decided to give it a shot, and here we are 10 years later.
So was it something that was always knocking on your door, you're hearing voices in your head, and the Elohim is saying, oh...
No, it wasn't like that at all. They really did respect the fact that I wasn't interested. I had really nothing going on. I mean, I could do tarot readings and psychic readings and things like that, but I wasn't channeling. And one thing that did happen is I was listening to another channel. I had some cassette tapes, and I was listening to another person channel. And when the person on the tape would be asked a question, I would hear the answer in my head before they would have a chance to channel the answer. And I thought that was a little unusual, but I just kind of went, oh, okay, that probably happens to other people. I just basically tried to put it aside, And it wasn't until I decided I want to try this channeling thing that it started again. And then it was only like 3 months when we just had my friend and I for 3 months, and then Elohim said, this isn't just for the two of you, get a group together. So we got a group together, and we've been meeting every Wednesday night for 10 years.
And how did people, what happens, they show up to is wherever you have the meetings in...
Yeah. And in Sonoma, we have a meeting room. Mm-hmm.
About how long do they last? Probably hour or something like that? Or
hour and a half. Usually it's an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. We have an hour and a half session every Wednesday night, and people can tune in on the Internet if they prefer, if they're not local. And if they're local, they can come in person. And just go on my website, Eloheim.com, ELOHEIM.com. All the information's there, and you can be part of our circle. And if you want to check it out beforehand, I have 3 or 4 years worth of recorded sessions that you can listen to and watch and see what we're all about. I also have now 10 books, so you can read one of the books and see what we're about. So there's lots of ways to check us out ahead of time. We're a fun group, though. We have a good time.
Veronica, I have a question for you. This is Claudia. You're talking about channeling mediums, all of these terms that in many religions, in many cultures, they are seen like obscure, that something that you should not do. So when and also at these times in the world, we are seeing a lot of awakening, and a lot of people that are starting to feel like there's something else in their lives that they need to pursue. And usually it's a more spiritual journey that they're starting, and everybody has something, a skill that they have to develop. But it's very hard for a beginner, if you want to say, because nobody's a beginner. It's just that you feel like you are. But it's very hard for someone like that to understand what are the things that they are feeling, if they are something for real. If they, for example, for a new channeler, whatever, when that person is channeling, sometimes they are wondering, wow, am I making up all these things? They really sound, they sound like out of this world. Or if someone that sees things, maybe they are going to a psychiatrist thinking that there's something wrong in their mind, or someone that hears things is scared to their, it's really scared and asking for voices to go away. So how do you integrate that you are who you are in your human experience today?
Well, what's really interesting about that, and it really ties into our topic of soul's perspective, because there obviously some of the things that you mentioned are medical conditions, and people should seek treatment for that. And I'm not referring to those people who literally have a medical condition that needs treatment. I'm referring to the general population that's opening up to the idea that there's more to life than just what our eyes can see and our ears can hear in sort of the 3D earth life, that there is something beyond our physical world. And in that case, you know, people in all traditions, I believe, I mean, it's really a common belief that you can pray and that you can get insight and that you can receive knowledge from other than just your brain. And what we talk about a lot in our meetings is this. When you have habitual thinking, hamster wheel thinking, obsessive thinking, which we all tend to do, it really takes up your brain. It takes up the space that you have available. Elohim likes to say it makes your hard drive full, right? And what Elohim likes to do is help people stop having habitual thinking, obsessive thinking. It's not serving them. You know, they say if thinking could have solved it, it would have solved it long ago, because you sure have thought about it enough, right? So we have all thought about it enough times. That hasn't fixed it. So what is the alternative? And the alternative we all experience, it's called the aha. That's your soul's perspective. And it happens in the shower a lot, right? It happens when you're kind of busy doing something else, and then you get this spark of insight. Well, that's what we call the soul's perspective, meaning that eternal wisdom that is you, that we talked about earlier, has insight about what's going on with you. Now, they can't tell you what to do. It can't control you, but it can say, have you thought about this? And one of the really, really clear ways to determine whether you're thinking obsessively or you're receiving insight is insight isn't mean to you. Flat out, it doesn't say, you're lame, you can't figure it out, when will you ever get it straight? All those things that the mind tends to repeat. Soul's insight doesn't do that. Soul's insight is going to give you things you've never thought of before, going to give you a way to see it that you've never seen it before, and give you the opportunity to experience yourself in a new way. Obsessive habitual thinking, we all know what that looks like, and it doesn't look like new. So that's really the difference is when you have that experience. And the way Elohim has described it is just like your mouth can take in both nourishment and air, two very, very different things, and the body sorts out what to do with those two very different things. Your organ of your brain processes both thinking and insight, soul's perspective. And you train yourself to know which is which, and mostly it's by what it's saying. And a lot of times, people will ask me, how do I know it's my insight? How do I know it's my insight? And I'll say, well, is it new? Is it something that makes you feel different than you've been feeling? Is it that sense of going, oh, that's a good idea? Yeah. But because it happens in the mind, people sometimes get caught up in, oh, I made it up, like you said. I just made that up. It's wishful thinking. But really there's a strong difference between wishful thinking, which gets caught up in the mind and the thinking idea, and insight, which is solutions and new ways to see things. So it's recognizing, wow, I had an aha, and knowing that's insight, and putting it in that category within yourself to strengthen the muscle of accessing insight. Because we tend to just glump them all together, and when you glump them all together, it sometimes doesn't feel very good, because habitual thinking is oftentimes very, very cruel.
Yeah, it's not that voice sitting there going, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to fix this? I can't believe I said that. I can't believe oh my God, I can't believe I did that. That's not it.
That's not it. So if you said in that example, I can't believe I said that, I can't believe I said that, I can't believe I said that, that's your whole life, right? Because your whole life is wrapped up in the I can't believes. And if you could say, okay, thinking mind, you have thought that. And what we call is putting it on the musing shelf. Elohim will say, you thought about it, you didn't get anything new, it wants you to think about it again. When it comes up to think about it again, you say, nope. I already gave you as much thinking as I'm going to give you. You go on the musing shelf, go sit over there until I get insight about you. Because thinking about you another 150 times is not going to fix this, it's not going to change it, and it's not going to make me happy. So if I set it aside, and then when I'm tempted to think that thought again, I say, no, I want insight instead. I want something new from a supportive perspective on this subject. And then what happens is it's like clearing off space in your computer. It makes room to download a new program. It makes room to download new stuff. Run your computer better. It works the same way, a similar way, let's say.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. You clear your computer, but also when you open to this new awareness, you start. It's like you take your sunglasses out of your face and you start looking to things in a different way, because it's the same world and it's the same people that you are interacting with, but it's looking at them through a different set of beliefs, and then everything changes.
Mm-hmm. And it's a different set of beliefs, but it's also a different experience of yourself. So in using that example we had earlier, if you're sitting at work going, why did I say that, why did I say that, why did I say that, then that's what you're emanating into the world. That's what you're showing the world, is I'm the person who sits at my desk and stresses out. If you're able to say, okay, if I had that to do over again, I would do it differently, and I want insight about how I would do it differently, because the way I did it didn't end up feeling very good. And then you're sitting in a receptive place, that's what you show the world. And people pick up on that, right? It's body language. If nothing else, you can believe that body language people read. But I believe that it's an energetic also, where people actually feel it. And an example of this is if you walk into a room where there's a bunch of unhappy people, it's really hard to stay perky and upbeat. So this energetic thing really does happen, and you can decide what level you want to buy into it on, but it happens at least on the level of body language, and it happens at least on the level of, God, everybody here's a downer today. I want to go out. I'm gonna take my lunch break early. I don't want to be around all the downer people today, right? People have felt that. So, but you can take that much, much further into your actual emanation and to really monitor your emanation and stay in that place of soul's insight and stay out of obsessive thinking to really change who you are, and then that affects the people around you in a constructive way. I have seen it happen for thousands of people.
What would you say is like when you have these sessions, what question do you come upon the most that people want to know?
Well, when you talk about the private sessions or public sessions, people really want to know, in however the way they're going to phrase it, why am I here? What am I doing? Why is it hard? How can I make myself happier? How can I be a better parent? How can I be a better spouse? Basically, how can I be better? How can I be something other than I am? I want to change my life, and I don't know how. And that's the nice thing about Eloheim, is they specialize in offering tools, specific, easy-to-apply tools that you can use in lots of different circumstances to help you be more conscious, to help you experience yourself in a different way, to help change your life. And, we have about 100, 200, I've lost count, but our books, The Choice for Consciousness, Tools for Conscious Living, we have 2 volumes of those. Those are specifically about the tools that Eloheim has given to support people in breaking that habit of going with obsessive thinking, breaking the habit of going with, it'll never work, or I'm no good, or, the voices of my past are still telling me who I am today. Getting out of those ruts, really.
And why so many, do you think, Veronica? Do you think that it's, I was just thinking of that many tools is because it's depending on your personality type that you would use some and not others, or your life, or your level of consciousness? What would you think it depends?
It's situational. The tools have all come out of these public sessions where someone has gone, I've got this problem I can't solve, and Eloheim says, we've got a tool for you, and they make one up right on the spot about that situation. It's fabulous. It happens, like several times a month. That's why there's so many of them. I have to write all these books. So they'll say, here's a tool that'll help you. Now, here's one that we've had for a while, but it's a good one. It's called the candle and the wax tool. And it's the idea that as a candle, you can imagine a candle, when a candle's lit, it can light lots of other candles without diminishing it. Right? And it can emanate out like we were talking about. Many people can experience the light of a candle without diminishing the candle. And that's kind of how you can see yourself. I'm a candle. I can light other candles, and I can emanate out to other people. However, if you start giving away your wax, you can see very quickly you're going to not be able to emanate out. You're not going to be able to light other candles. You're not going to be able to offer the truth of you to the world. And when you overdo, you do service mentality, you habitual think, all these things, it's like being a candle but giving away pieces of your wax, and you're like, it's just a little bit. I'll just give a little bit to this person. It's like, okay, you have to make the choice. Am I going to give away my wax, or am I going to offer my emanation? And a lot of times, especially women I've seen this with, tend to think it's okay to give away wax because if the other person's happy, I'll be happy. But you know how that works out, right? Pretty soon you're exhausted. Pretty soon you don't have anything to give anybody, including yourself, because you've given away your wax. So it's saying, I'm going to hold on to my wax and change the fact that I'm giving with my emanation. And basically you end up giving from your abundance rather from what you need to keep yourself going. And it was interesting. I recently did a private session, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of private sessions and never have made any of them into a book. But this one was so fabulous I got permission to make it into a book. And it's all on this subject. The book is called Discovering You. And what basically happened during that session was a lady came, and she had that kind of story, you know, I've been overgiving, I've done too much for others, I'm exhausted, I don't know how I'll make it, I don't know why I'm on this planet, all these sorts of things we've been talking about. And Eloheim was so amazing, in less than an hour, they gave her 12 different tools to use. And it was so fabulous that I had to make it into a book. And so it's her private session transcribed with all the tools that they gave explained in detail. And it's like a crash course in getting to know Eloheim, getting to know some tools that you can actually apply today, and seeing how you can catch your habitual thinking and make a change in those patterns in a very short period of time. So Discovering You is the book I really recommend to people who are new to the material. The ebook is on sale for $1.49. The paperback's $5.95 or $6.95. So it's a very inexpensive book, and it's available on Amazon.
Is that when ebook? Is that like the Kindle version?
Yeah, it's an electronic book, and it's for Kindle, but you can read Kindle books on your iPad, iPhone, Android, Mac, PC, whatever you've got that plugs in. I wouldn't be surprised if we can start reading them on our toasters pretty soon, but they are everywhere. So they might be called Kindle books, but they have software that's very easy to download and use on your other devices.
Yeah, that makes it work. I just discovered my Kindle, and I'm still learning the ropes of it, but I love it.
It's nice.
So we have one person that is on the switchboard, Veronica, that we feel that she might have a good, or he might have a very good question. So we're going to click that person. It's a 707-933, and you listen to us. 707-933. Are you there?
Okay, maybe not.
Okay,
I think we lost them.
Let's try 505-204. Are you there?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you tell us your name?
My name is Malik.
Hi, Malik. Thank you for joining us today. Do you have a question for Veronica?
I just want to get a general reading.
Okay, so for a reading, Veronica, if they need a reading, personal, where can they go? Where can people go to have a personal reading with you?
Yeah, all they need to do is go to my website, Eloheim.com, and get on the calendar. There's a whole section about private sessions that explains what we do and how we do it. And, there's availability later this month. In fact, the waiting list is really short right now. I think a lot of people are on vacation. Normally the waiting list is 6 to 8 weeks, and right now it's only about 10 days. So it's a good time to jump on that if you're interested.
That's perfect. So why don't we go with the Eloheim and hear if he can give us a general reading for us and for everybody that is listening. Eloheim must know the questions that people have in their hearts and in their minds, so we just would love to talk to them.
Okay, so what I'll do is bring in Eloheim then. It only takes usually a few seconds, and we'll see what they have to say.
Perfect.
All right, great. I just want to say while we're waiting, this Veronica's website, her new website is the www.the com. It's a brand new website that she just launched. She also has her book that she talked about called Discovering You, which kind of gives the general intro for anyone that has questions about what this is about and what the Elohim have to say in general, and give you tools to help you work with your life and kind of give you some answers so you don't sit there and do the same kind of reel that we often do in our heads, which is that constant, how do I fix this? I think we tend to ask the questions, how do I fix this, how do I fix this, in our heads quite often without coming up with any real solutions. So if you're interested in maybe looking at a different approach, go check out her book, Veronica Torres, Discovering You, and go check out her website, theelohim.com. Veronica, are we here, or how?
Yes, we are here now. Hello.
Hey.
It is always so much fun to be on the radio and talk to people who are far away. You are in the Washington, D.C. area, is that correct?
No, we are in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina, off in that area over that way, we like to say. You're not on this side of the country, you're on the other side of the country. Wonderful, wonderful. So what is it that you would like to talk about today?
Well, pretty much we were wondering, Eloheim we are in our personal journeys as well as many people. Is there some words of wisdom that you have for us all the way here in Charlotte, North Carolina? This is Claudia, and Denise is right here with me.
We're just looking at your energy a little bit here, just a moment. You know, we know that you guys have been talking a bit about the soul's perspective first thing here during the talk, and it's such an important concept, and it's in such an important time to be thinking about this because, and by time we mean the opportunity is now to live your life differently. It's always now, right? In each moment you have the opportunity to say, I'm going to do it differently. We have a tool we like to say. It's called choose and choose again. The idea that habit is always a choice. It doesn't feel like a choice since it's so instantaneous. However, it is a choice. You're always making a choice to have the experience you're having. And sometimes people don't want to believe that, but it is true. It is true that this is a choice. This moment is a choice. How you respond to this moment is your choice. And we like to say choose and choose again for the option that feels what we call high vibrational or more conscious, the opportunity to not be habitual, the opportunity to say, that's never served me. Why would I give it any more attention? Why would I give it any more energy? You making that choice, drawing that line in the sand, being firm with yourself to say, this is what I choose, rather than defaulting to what we like to call familiar suffering. There's a place in all of you where it's extremely familiar and it's only suffering. It's that place where you say, I'm no good. It's that place where you say, it'll never work out. It's that place that says, it's never been right and it never will be right. And you give over your attention to familiar suffering as a choice. And what we like to say is, look, how about we choose for something else? And if nothing else, choose for neutrality. Choose for I will be neutral in this moment. I will look at my world, and instead of hearing that voice that says I suck, I'm going to let myself hold in an open, neutral place that says I'm going to see this with fresh eyes. I'm going to evaluate this anew. Because really, you know, there's this idea of creating your reality. And some people are a little bit skeptical of this idea, but it is true that you create your reality. And the way you create your reality is you create it by your reactions to this, through your reactions to this experience. So right now you could have a reaction to something and say, you know, oh, it's just as bad as it's always been. Or you could say, I'm going to, and this is one of our tools, look out the window tool. I'm going to look out this window and I'm going to require myself to see something new today. Whether it's a new leaf on the grass, a new cloud in the sky, a new person walking by, I'm going to require myself to see something that I did not see yesterday. And through that, I'm going to see my life changing, and I'm going to acknowledge my life is changing. Because a lot of times what people do is they get caught in these ruts, and they'll say, nothing ever changes. Well, yesterday it wasn't this temperature. Yesterday, the barometric pressure was different. Yesterday, one of those hairs that fell out in the shower this morning was still attached to your head. Things are changing. And when you ignore the small things that are changing, it makes it just that much harder to see and allow bigger change in your life. You guys aren't all that good at changing, and that's because the survival instinct says, look, this hasn't killed you yet, don't change. Because what you're doing, although it may be suffering, it hasn't killed you, and we want you to stay alive, so don't change. And then you have this spiritual impulse that says, I want to change my life, I want things to be different, I want to be happier, and you have to have this competition with the survival instinct that says, no, we don't care if you suffer, just don't change because that's not safe. And you say, I can't suffer anymore, I have to change whether it feels safe or not. I have to take the risk of doing something new for anything new to happen in my life. You can't have change without change.
How do you, okay, so for someone who's saying, okay, I want to change, but then they say my circumstances are not causing me to change, or I have to, say if someone wants a new job, and they say, oh, God, you know, people get so rooted back in the human form of, oh, money, and we need money, and we got to pay our bills, and how do you escape that?
Yeah, well, a really fun tool to use, we call it the Mad Scientist tool, and this is a great tool to use when you're considering changing jobs. What you really want is to change yourself. Your job is just a reflection of you, right? Your internal world is projected into your external life like a movie screen. So you see what's true about you in your external world. So if you don't like the circumstances of your external world, there's something inside of you that needs to shift so that you project a different thing out. So we have this tool called Mad Scientist, and what we like to say is in your current job, you want to start experimenting. If you're ready to leave that job anyway, it's time to experiment where you already know the work, you already know the coworkers, you already know what's expected of you. You can start to be the different person that you think a new job would let you be. But you can be doing it in a circumstance that you're already familiar with, so it's easier. Because if you imagine you said, okay, I want to be a different kind of person. I'm going to get a different kind of job so I can be a different kind of person. You go to a new job, and you're overwhelmed with new tasks, new people, new responsibilities. It's hard to be a new person also. That's a lot of change. So if instead you allow yourself in a familiar circumstance to start transforming yourself, you know, maybe don't obsessively think about things. Maybe allow yourself to speak up in different ways that you haven't allowed yourself to speak up. Maybe allow yourself to say, I want to have a different schedule, or I need to sit in a different place. Take those little risks for transformation that you wouldn't take if you were clinging to that job as if it was, the only job in town. When you start to feel that there's some willingness to make change, we recommend, unless your job is horrific and abusive, that you make the change within the circumstances you're already in. And this goes for friendships and relationships too. You know, if you think, I got to get out of this relationship, well, if you really think about, is it because I don't like myself in this relationship, or is it because I really don't like my partner? If you really don't like your partner, that's one thing. But a lot of times the reason you want out of the relationship is because you don't like who you are in the relationship, and you've assumed there's no room for you to be your truth. So you can start being your truth and see if it changes the relationship some. That's what we call being the mad scientist. So unless something's abusive or dangerous, we don't recommend changing immediately as a general statement. We don't recommend changing before you've done some mad scientist. And that way when you go to a new job or a new relationship, you go with a new version of you that you actually have some familiarity with.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great advice for many, because we're trying always to reinvent ourselves. Now, when you in your spiritual journey, Eloheim, and you want to be sure of the steps that you're taking, and at the same time it's like I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, but on the other hand, I want to live the moment, and at the same time, I want to live on bliss, and then I don't believe myself.
You got a busy brain, Claudia. Your brain is busy with all these same times you want to do. How about we say this? How about instead of all that, what is true now? That's our most powerful tool out of all the ones we've come up with. That's the most powerful one. What is true now? What is your truth in this moment? And start with something basic. I'm wearing a blue shirt. I have on green shoes. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. What is true now? And these simple answers to the moment rather than I want to be in bliss or I want to have the perfect marriage or whatever it is you might be wanting in a big way, when you say what is true now, these simple answers bring you into the moment. They stop the hamster wheel habitual mind, and they allow insight, something new, which is what you're really asking for. I want something other than I've got, and I don't know how to get it. The way to get it is to clear the moment of the past and the future and allow yourself to be aware of what is true now for you. So that's a great tool for your listeners, too. Just as you're going through your day, and you catch yourself feeling uncomfortable in whatever way, ask yourself, what is true now? And come up with an immediate answer that has to do with your physical surroundings. I'm sitting in a chair. I'm driving my car. I have hair on my head. You can have fun with this. I have 2 eyebrows, right? You can have fun with this. Imagine that. Fun. Could you imagine somebody having fun? We like it. And what that does is it stops the old way of using your brain and allows you to open up to seeing your world in a new way, which is really what's required to have a changed life, is first you have to see your life in a new way. And this is one of the fastest ways to get there. And you can have fun with it. And it may sound silly and easy, but go ahead and give it a try. It can be challenging, but it also can make huge, huge changes very quickly. What is true now? So answer our question, both of you now, please. What is true now?
Well, we are here right next to each other, and we are having a very nice conversation with the Elohim.
And you, Denise, what's true now for you?
I have on an orange shirt, and I feel happy, and I'm sitting in a chair with my purple phone.
Beautiful. So you see how easy that is? And both of you had a lightness to your voice when you said it. So later on, if you're in traffic or if you're, something else is going on that maybe doesn't feel quite as light as what we're doing right now, you can say, okay, instead of obsessing about this, I'll say, what is true now? And then you can see how much fun you can have with it. What is true now? I see a piece of gum on the ground. What is true now? I feel a rock in my shoe. What is true now? I can see that bird on that 3rd branch in that tree. And all of a sudden, where are you? You're in the moment. You're having a real experience of today, and you're not in the space of this, oh, God, the life is so bad.
I think that's true. When you talk to counselors and they have, when you talk to anyone who has PTSD, Vietnam veterans, or anybody that has those kind of past experiences, counselors often say that very advice of get back in the moment because your mind is taking you back to where you were and the fear that you felt back then. So get back in the moment and feel the pressure of the chair that you're sitting in, and even if a listener's not believing any of this that we're talking about today, these are basic tools that even counselors say to do.
Well, they're real. They affect people. They have an impact. So whether or not you believe we are the Elohim, and whether or not you believe Veronica channels us, and whether or not you believe any of that, the next time you're in habitual thought and you don't feel comfortable, you can do what is true now, and it will help you. You don't have to believe in us, and we don't even care if you do or don't. It doesn't matter. We are here to help you, and if that helps you, good enough. If you can do what is true now and it changes a habitual pattern you're in, it gets you out of hamster wheel mind, it breaks the cycle of thinking that you're a horrible, sucky person that no one will love, you never have to even remember our name. That's fine with us. We'd be happy with that experience.
At least it helped. Can you tell, we're almost out of time, but a lot of people ask, I think they go to see psychics and listen to other things, and they're asking, what's the meaning of life? What are we here for?
You're here to grow and expand and transform and know yourself more. That's the reason you're here, to grow and transform and know yourself more and experience yourself in different circumstances and to know how amazing you are. And it's sometimes challenging to know how amazing you are when you're trying to do human life. We understand that, and that's why we have all these tools and all these books and all these recordings, because we know how amazing you are, and we want to support you in knowing how amazing you are.
Well, thank you for that final thought, and, we're going to have to leave because the time is up, and thank you, Veronica, for being here, and we will be in contact with you. And thank you
very much. Thank you for having all of us on.
Thank you for having us.
And come visit us at Eloheim.com and learn more.
We will.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No more nonsense. Open up my mind with these spoken words. Let this music heal like an overture. She's the only one, yeah, and so I roll with her.